Network. I will say today is definitely one of those special days in our calendar, if you will, as this is kickoff, the kickoff to our 90-day goal setting challenge that we've hosted every year. This is our 11th. This is our 11th 90-day goal setting challenge. And it's amazing to even say that. I was like, what year is this? And so I had to actually count through and figure out what year this actually is. But we've been hosting 90-day goal setting challenges for 11 years. And that in of itself, I think, is just I would say, a big blessing in all of this. And a lot of this is that there is a certain level of consistency and commitment to growth and development that we've chosen to go down that road. And it's especially when we have so many reasons and efforts, if you will, to kick us off that type of thinking, that type of an approach, to be distracted, if you will, by things that could easily have us going into another way, could easily have us thinking negative, could easily get us off topic. So the fact that there is some level of consistency in even the conversation of personal development, let alone actively pursuing and doing things to send you in a certain direction. And so I want to just, you know, take a second and show gratitude and thankfulness for that alone. For those of you who are hearing us and connecting with us for the first time, we do welcome you to the Mastermind Call the Dreammakers Network. And for if you really just tapped in, we are really at the core of everything that we focus on, really attempting to focus in on personal development. And folks, well, what does that mean? I'm developing on my job. I'm trying to stay married. I'm trying to be a good parent. I'm trying to be a good son to my parents, a good sibling, all these things that you are in, all these titles and labels that you have. But do we ever take a second just to connect with you, or to point to yourself and to connect with yourself to say, where am I and where am I going and why? And it's one thing to have that type of a interpersonal thought, or even if it's just a prayer between you and God about that. But we've tried to purposely create a network of folks who are having that same type of thought, that same type of prayer, who are willing to share those thoughts and prayers with a group, with a network of other folks. And that has really been the core and crux of this network from the jump, for almost 12 years now, which will be 12 years at the end of this 90-day goal setting challenge. And so it's just that in and of itself. I want to just kind of thank you guys who've been around for all of those years, and just say, I appreciate you. I appreciate the fact that I'm not on here by myself every every Saturday, every time we decide to connect. It's I'm not alone, and it's always great to get new people who are where they are and they've reached that point. Maybe they heard it from someone else. Maybe someone connected and say, hey, you need to jump on this call. Uh, but it is just something exciting and powerful to see and hear the voices and connect with folks who've been around for over a decade. That has enough steam in it, enough energy in that to make you want to continue to pursue all that's possible. And I think that's a big part of our job is to give you an opportunity, if you're not already doing it, to conceptualize and just even take a second and think about all that is possible for you to accomplish in this life, and all that you could potentially build, all that you could potentially start, what is realistically possible. And then even flirt with what's not realistic, right? And question, why isn't it? A lot of times we don't even touch certain surfaces, right? We don't even touch certain topics because at some point somebody told us that's not realistic. Maybe you don't know anyone who's doing something like that. Maybe no one in your family ever remotely came close to attempting, let alone accomplishing, what just danced around in your head. And for the purposes of this network, we want to make sure and at least give you kind of the green light, if you will, to at least flirt with what's impossible to see, what? Why is that impossible? And is it possible? And if it is, what does that mean for you, your goals, and the trajectory of your life? That is something that, at least for the purposes of this call and for the purpose of this network, that we allow and try to really create the energy around folks feeling comfortable to think in that way. And I don't want to, kind of glance over that because I want to be clear that there are some people who dare to even allow their brains to go there. There's a lot of historical thinking and historical shaping of their thoughts and behaviors that will not allow their brains to go past a certain point. So for me to even introduce this type of concept, if you will, to flirt with what's impossible, I know for one person's ear, they may say, well, yeah, I always flirt with what's impossible. That might be a common thing. But for that next person, that could be, what is this dude talking about? It's like he's always going there. He's always talking about stuff that nobody's going to do, right? So I want to be clear that this is not a normal conversation for most people. So, again, for the purpose of this call, we want to make sure that we do and dare to possibly think about moving our thoughts, moving our energies, and even taking a step in the direction of the impossible just to see, does it line up with what it is that you are here to do in this life and what it is that you're here to create in this life that's supposed to live on past our time. And that in of itself, I think, is it just the conversation gets, I'll say for me personally, gets me excited. And so I truly do just want to thank you guys for connecting, giving us an opportunity to go there, at least allowing this network to live. You can't have a network with one person. So let's be clear about that. You can't have a network with one person. And so it's a blessing to have folks who are constantly engaged. And even if we're not even talking, but that those seeds that were sown at some point over the past 12 years has is continuously being watered. They're growing. Those branches are starting to grow. The tree is thickening up and it's going. I mean, so we want to continue to do that. We're thankful about the growth, and I personally am just very, very excited to connect and hear from you guys today on today's call as we dive into this 90-day goal setting challenge. And so thank you for connecting with us this morning. So I want to take a step back before we take a big dive and just review where we are today. But we're just finished. Today's June 1st, right? And so we've completed 5 months. And for those of you who read the book, the 12-week year, I have kind of associating yourself now with how to shrink annual goals into quarters, into 12 weeks. So instead of having 12-year annual goals, you have 12-week quarterly goals. And this is something that we introduced last year. And I'll tell you, I've just kind of adopted my personal philosophies and goals around this method and approach, shared it with my clients, and how to restructure their objectives around business and personal finance around this model. And once you get started down a road and it's working, at that point, it's hard to deviate. And so I just want to have us to take a second and think about the past 5 months. We can look at it again in 90 days and say, in that first 90 days from January to March, what happened? And we discussed a bit of that in previous calls. And even relative to where we are today, when you look at April and May, what happened? Where are we? And I wanted to just take a second and open up the call really to, I know we've done a lot, things have happened. We can kind of measure our activities, our progress, our lack thereof, if you will. But I would love to hear from you guys to just highlight, what are you proud of up to this point in 2024? What you've been working on, how you've spent your time relative to goals. Maybe it was a goal that you actually pursued. You highlighted from the year was something that you wanted to pursue and work on. Or maybe it was something that fell in your lap and your vibration attracted it, if you will. It was completely off your radar. And you were able to approach something and you feel good about the progress and or the success of it. And this is just an opportunity to take a quick look back, but at the same time, really just look at the things that you're proud of for this year, and relative to what you've been working on. So let's take a second to open up the call now. Anybody who's willing to jump out and share what you're proud of up to this point in 2024, and relative goals, ideas, things you've been working on, but what are you proud of so far in this year? We'll take a second and open up the call now. Appreciate you, brother.
And just to overcome to the point where like you have to tell yourself and you have to ask yourself who God is and who God is in your picture. But if you just trust and like to overcome the doubt and overcome the worry and overcome the fear and all of the naysayers of what doesn't make sense to push beyond that and into it. And now we got a deal on the table now with a heavy investment company out of DC. They do all of the management, all of the project management for the projects in DC. We already lined up for like $5 million worth of work. And having $100,000 conversations on Tuesday, bro. It's like, but like it's just that whole, you say let go and let God, but like to really be able to let go and let God is a freeing experience. It's not easy. It's not easy. I'm surprised still to this day, but I am proud. And I can honestly say that in this lifetime, I have officially just let go and let God.
Wow. 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 I love that, man. I'm so glad you shared that. That's for those of you who don't know that sultry voice you just heard. That is Brother Brandon Johnson. So, or if you haven't heard that voice in a long time, he's another one of those early brothers who've been around over the past decade or more, and it's so exciting to hear, because some of you may only know uh, Brother Johnson from his music, but what he just shared is the other side of his specialty, if you will, which is his construction management and program management. And so, and I'm thankful to have been participated in both sides of the greatness of this brother. And so I tell you, man, I'm so glad you shared it that way. Um, Particularly as you highlight the fact of what does it really mean, to let go and let God. So I'm insinuating, but I know the answer, as that, this is someone who has decided to, include prayer into his and faith into the efforts that you're working on. So it's one thing to go at it on your own. So if you're going at it on your own, then you don't feel as if you have a partner in this. You don't feel, you feel as if if you hadn't figured it out in your brain and what your experience is, then that's it. So if you could just take a quick second, Brother Johnson, and share, that part of the relationship where you even got to a point where you said, you know what, I need some additional support. I need some guidance. I need a partner. And how faith even got involved in your day to day. And how long has that been? Has that been forever? Or did you reach a point in your life where you said, okay, it's time for me to tap into a greater source?
Hey, are you okay? Seeing some of your posts and I'm sad and blah, blah, blah. And then lately, oh, you can't remember how to work with, but you questioning my relationship with God. And it made me think that, well, what about me didn't, what about me, what didn't I do to show God in high school? And what was it? Because when I'm like, you know me to the core, and the core me has changed. And then when we got to that part, she said, like, questioning, and I was like, that's interesting. Maybe some people don't know how strong and how deep this relationship is. But I tell you, I have been tapped in since birth, my boy. Like, since I remember one time getting on the field and there was a raffle. And in the raffle, they had a little spinny thing and they put your name on it. And I remember seeing my name in the little raffle bit. I could see it clear. And I saw the ticket. And I looked at the ticket. And I talked to God about the ticket. The man reached in and grabbed the ticket. My name on it. And at that point, I was like, this is real. You and I was like, I was really about tennis.
Yeah.
And of course, get more into, what's going on with life and people and all these nuances. So, you kind of lose that strong faith. But I know that I could tap into it back then at 10 years old. So, here I am now at 43. You just need that reminder every now. Sometimes you get pushed to the brink.
Yeah.
And you're not all the way out the woods. Share breath with people who care to explain how they are moving around. Because it's very help. How people do it, I don't care to know. But that's my boy, that's my
yeah, yeah. Yeah. That is, it's so. I'm glad you shared it that way, because you got to recognize that everybody has their own view and perception of what someone who is a believer looks like and should look like and feel like. They've been taught about it a certain way. So if you're not walking around with a Bible and a bow tie on, they say, well, he might not be, he, he might not be a believer. So, but it is important though, for folks of all walks who can share, because that's what helps folks feel as if they don't have to look a certain way, but they just have to believe. And I'm so glad you shared it that way. And at the end of the day, as we keep living, we're going to realize that, you know, this whole life experience is not singular, and it was never meant to be a singular thing. And if we're out here feeling as if it's singular, then that's when the trouble begins. Trouble's gonna come, period. But if you by yourself, that's I'm with you. I don't even want to dance around with the idea of what does it mean to do this life by myself. Yeah. Oh man, I so appreciate you, brother, and sharing that, man. That was good for me, so I'm sure it was good for other folks who heard it. Thank you. It's always good to hear your voice, brother. I so appreciate you. All right, all right. Let's take a second. Let's open up the call. Who's willing and ready to just take a second and share about what you're proud of so far? In this 2024. What's happened? What have you been doing? And what have you just say? You know what? I'm thankful. I'm glad I did this, and I'm proud of what's happened. Um, no ifs, ands, or buts about it, and especially for you folks who are just, you know, you guys. There's so many folks who are always, well, I'm not a boastful person. I'm not here to try to point to me. And I hope over the years by now that you realize that for this call, we try our best to try to create a safe space for you to feel like if there was ever a moment where you can say, look at what I did. This is the one. This is the moment. This is the call. This is that group. You don't have to worry about, oh, she thinks she all that, or he think he got it going on. This is the group where, yeah, we do think you got it going on. That's exactly why you're here. We think you got it going on. I think all of you, anybody who wake up 7 o'clock Eastern or earlier in other time zone, I think you got it going on. And I think that I love the fact that most people ain't willing to do it. So I just, I want you to shine that light on yourself for a second. So we'll take a second, open up the call now to anybody who would love to share about what you're proud of for this point of the year. We'll open up the call now. And even for our folks who are watching online, please feel free to type in the chat. Let us know, what are you proud of so far in 2024? Let us know. Good morning. Mm,
When you're meditating, you think about, when thoughts come up, you just let them go, right? So imagine being at like the airport and it's your bag. You don't think no more of that purple bag that went back once it's gone. It's just gone. It ain't your bag, right?
mm.
And so that's kind of like I've been taking some of those ideas and things at the moment and applying them into it. It's no like emotion around it. It's just over there. And it's just allowing me to like give people back their stuff and their emotions and their drama and their projects. Like, yeah, I'm brilliant. So of course you will want me to help you, but I don't want to do that. Or it's not something that I care about, or it's not what I want. oh no, but thank you. And you might want to talk to someone else. And not doing that just because they brought it to me. It's for me to do something with. And it's like, thank you, but oh my God, this is an opportunity. But this is not what I'm going for. Let me get back to you tomorrow and let you know. And let me have it and be able to say no. So being able to say no has given me so much time and giving me my time back. Um, and then being able to also, the other part, say no, and then being able to be very clear about what I stand with the situation. As me going home, and Pittsburgh is a giant town, and so there's a whole lot of stuff going on. People like dissension and craziness, and some people live for it. And just being poured into that. And letting people know, hey, I'm here for this reason, but you and so and so, and you're touching it with a 10-cent pole.
Yeah.
So don't even try me, and letting people know exactly where I stand about the things that I care about. That has also been fun. Adults that were in my life as a child now we're equals. And some of them joke it was crazy at the back one is had the back.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to respect you as an elder, but not picking up your crazy. And when you've done something, you tell you that, hey, this is right, and here's what we need to be. Because yes, you did the best in the moment, but we have to be able to move past holding on and doubling down on something that didn't serve the community at large. And so, like, being able to communicate that with love, respect, but knowing that we just can't keep doing wrong because we've always done it.
Yeah.
And being able to have the courage to share that has been like this ongoing thing, like knowing my voice and knowing that I know, and being able to speak and stand in it. So those are the two that have been really powerful because of that. More things are coming and people are seeing me. I'm not having to introduce myself. They're like, hey, you're so-and-so. I want you to do this with us. This is what you're working on. I want you in this meeting, and you can go back and tell. Well, I want you to meet this person, and this is what. And those things are just coming together that have been what God has been wanting for a very long time, but I wasn't available to receive it. So clearing clutter and standing, which is like that is where I'm like super proud of myself right now, and creating the product to match the thing versus just like these ideas, allowing them to just come and be out there, but really putting it and carrying it directly through because I have the courage to actually make it happen.
I love it. I love, and just listening to Dr. Jones here, just thinking about the fact that and this is, I probably should preface this on every call, but just listening to her made me think about it again. Anyone who has made a decision to focus on personal development and strengthening your life from a mind, body, and soul perspective, and if this is something that is part of your lifestyle, the fact, and I'm going to stand tall on saying the word fact. The fact is, you're going to shine a light that other people want to associate with. You're going to attract people. People are tired of hanging around, pity party folks. People are tired of hanging around, folks who are just going to bring them down. They want to associate with people who are shining a light. They want to hang around attractive people. So I want to just lead with that. And I probably like, again, I probably should say this every time we talk because it is worth reminding. And I say all that to say that you're going to have people say, hey, I need you to be a part of this. And I need you to be a part of that. And this, that, and the other. And just expect it. I mean, I expect it to happen every day. The way I think, I expect that to happen every day. And when it happens, I'm not surprised. So with that being said, if you don't have an objective that you're already pursuing, a focus that has goals that you already have in line, you will very well say yes to all of it. I mean, you know what I'm saying? If you don't have somebody that's willing to come to you and say, man, I love what you're doing. I think you have this and all this stuff, and they willing to praise you. Can you join this? Can you be a part of that? If you don't have a plan, an objective, and things that you're working on, your answer will be yes. And so, so to, and then you find yourself like, whoa, how did I get involved in all this stuff? How did I get myself involved in all of this? And to Tysana's point, being comfortable and confident in saying no is such an important part of the personal development process. And I would say that, I that's why I enjoy having conversations with folks as much as possible to learn more about what they're trying to accomplish. And even though they may have come with the intent of saying, I want you to be a part of this, I can now listen to what they are actually trying to accomplish and recommend and refer people who are a better fit for what they're trying to do. So it makes it, oh, I just need some good people because I'm tired of these, these other folks who just kind of weighing me down. And I need your energy, I need your insight, I need this, need that. They got it. This sounds great. And I know someone who would be a good fit. And here's why he or she would be a good fit. Because what you're trying to do, they've done this, or they have access to this, or whatever the case may be. This may be in line with what they actually already are thinking about. So at least it's worth the conversation and just defer that. It's like a no, but here's somebody, or here's something you should do kind of thing. So that I'm so glad you highlighted it that way. And I'll tell you the other part to that is when someone does come to you with something and they came with the intent to bring you in, and this is kind of leading into the objective for today. If you have a plan, if you have an objective, if you're already working on goals, you and with that you're thinking long term, what they're sharing, you can then decide if this is something that adds value to your plan. It was off your radar. You didn't even, this was not something you even thought would be a good fit for your objectives and for your plan. But as they were talking it through, as you were kind of looking at what you're working on, as you even thought about the long term of what you're working on, and does this add value to that? And that is at least the process that I go through to say, okay, you know what? I actually wanted to do something like this. I figured it was probably 3 to 5 years down the road on my strategic plan. But is there a harm in diving into something like this now? Because I have energy for it, I have some resources that can support it. I've already thought about it a little bit. I just didn't think I'd be doing it right now. So that is kind of for myself the way I approach these. Should I not do something? Um, and I'll tell you, and this is, that's something that has been the exciting part of trying to vibrate at the highest vibration point that you can, because if you are keeping your thoughts in the right place, keeping your energies high, staying focused on the work, like I said, you're going to shine a light, and and you expect to be attractive from an energy perspective. When those opportunities come, and you see it could potentially fit in your puzzle, in your grand scheme, in your plan, the energy around that, and knowing that you are working on something that is in line with your strategic objective. It could be relative to your current goals, or it could be a great step toward your long term. But I can say on a personal level, the energy around working on something that is new, a little off your day to day, but you know it's plugging a hole, filling a void in that plan. That part is very exciting. So it's great to be able to take on new things that are in line. Because you know the downside of that, right? When you take on something new that's not in line with your plan, then now you find yourself, why did I get involved with this? Or how do I exit out of this thing without blowing it up? Right. And so that is something that we have to, like I always say, we have to have those come to Jesus moments to say, okay, here's the deal. I need to break out of this, but I want to break out in a way that's going to not blow this thing up, but at the same time, fill a void for whatever role that I'm playing in this, you know. So thank you, Santa, for sharing it, especially from that perspective, because there is power in saying no, and on both sides. You know, it's good for you, and it's actually good for the other person because the last thing they want is to bring you on. They're all excited, and they realize, yikes, you know, she doesn't really seem to be into this thing. And is it me? Is it what's going on? So just to kill all of that potential issue, uh, us address it up front and feel okay with saying no when it's time to say no. So thank you for highlighting that and sharing that those nuggets for us. All right, you're on the box. Anybody willing to open up, share, give us a little taste of what's been going on and what you are proud of for 2024 so far. We'll take a second to open up the call now. All right. Well, I do want to share a little bit on a personal level. A couple things that I'm really proud of for this year. Uh, One, I'm proud of the website. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to go to the Dream Makers Network website, which is dreammakersnetwork.org. Dreammakersnetwork.org. I highly recommend. If you've never been to the site, you got to go because you may see your face in there. There's a lot of you know a lot of us who've been a part of this network for the over the years. You are included in this in some way, form of fashion, and you may see your face in there from an event that we did, or a video from something from the past, or you may have been identified as part of our advisory board. Um, Also, you know, we have videos from that stretch over several years from these calls, from other events we've done. I mean, it really captures what has been going on with the network over the years, and that is, I think, is an exciting part relative to what we've done, activities, being able to connect and associate with folks. Um, but I'm also excited about what how it's become operational. One, for on a personal level, it's been the fact that we've opened up a membership, and the membership really focuses on helping folks who, let's say, who don't have a financial advisor. You know, so if you don't have a financial advisor, and it could be the case that you don't have a financial advisor because you may think you don't make enough money to have a financial advisor. And essentially what it does is provides you opportunities to meet with myself and other professionals in the market who may be available for tax service, estate planning, financial consulting, all those things you just have questions about. It's like, who's your financial advisor? Can I talk to somebody? Like, it allows you to do that. And you can just schedule a meeting, go in there, schedule a meeting. I just want to talk to you about this. Let me know your thoughts. I then share with them the benefits of even becoming a member and what comes with that, and membership on the website. And this again really focuses on providing access to professional services from legal, financial, accounting, business development, personal development, as you guys know. And the membership is $500 for the year. And we also have an affiliate arm of that, which allows folks to become an affiliate for folks who are actually referring members for us. And I think every person who can kind of share the back, especially if you've been around from the beginning, you know, everybody on here has something to share. And the great part is we all are centers of influence. People are coming to you asking questions. Hey, do you know who I can talk to about this? Do you have a tax advisor? Do you have a financial advisor? Do you have a person in legal? Whatever the case may be, send them to the network. Say, hey, go to the website, dreammakersnetwork.org, do a schedule a meeting, talk to Dees, talk to the team. They will help you. That's all you got to do. And you become a member, you get paid on that, right? And so it's a great way to build something that at the end of the day, we've been doing this for a long time. We've been doing these types of, networking, if you will, for a long time. But now I'm proud of the fact that we have a central source to operationalize it, and kind of get out of the old school manual way of saying, "Oh yeah, call this guy. Let me see if I got his phone number." You just send them to the website, dreammakersnetwork.org. Go there, schedule a meeting, whole nine. So and the good part is it's building toward where we're headed to. So there's always tweaks. Paz can tell you. I include him in a lot of the meetings that I have with our web developer. And also, if you need a web developer, right? If you have a business, you're trying to update your website and get things going, and you need a new person, we have a team on that, right? So, my big dream is to have a full professional services company that from across the board and from every level of professional services, and then and coupled with that, and I haven't shared this enough, partly because there was compliance reasons why I couldn't share it, but we also have an arm. If you go to, we have a page on that's called Engage Wealth, and Engage Wealth really highlights, I would say, the core and crux of what I do on a day-to-day basis. But a lot of it I don't market because of compliance reasons, but we've worked through a lot of those issues. But even access to capital for folks who are, needing investments into their companies, into their business, startup loans, investment capital, equity. All of that is listed on the website as well. Business consulting, the strategy that we go through, the partners that we use for that, tax and accounting services, whether it be bookkeeping, tax strategy, tax planning, tax filing, the partners that we use for that, the investment policy that we use, estate planning. Folks may be in the process of planning for that. Folks may have fallen into a situation where loved one have passed away, inheritance, all those factors. Have our partners listed for that. So the website is operational, and that is truly, truly a blessing. I'll tell you, it's been a long time. It's been a long time coming, and even you'll see, even throughout the rest of this year, we're going to tweak, add more. The things will change, but everything that we need to do to be operational is there. So go to the website, dreammakersnetwork.org. Engage Wealth is that financial piece that you can see how to get involved, what we're doing. But again, just go and flirt around and see what's going on with the videos, and see yourself and share it out. Share it with your network, share it on social media, get the word out, because definitely proud of that. And I'll tell you something else, because it's and I'll share this with you guys. It's always good to, as you're busy working on you and your job and paying your bills and being responsible and all the stuff they told us we're supposed to do as kids. When you grow up, you got to grow up and be responsible and do all it. When you're busy doing that stuff, right? It is important to have something that you're working on that's part of your future self. It's always good to do that, not only just for financial reasons, but for your psyche. Because if you don't have an outlet to flirt around with the things that you want, and do some of that stuff and add some of that into your life, and just even figuring out, how do I add that into my life? That's the reason why you need to schedule a meeting, right? If you're trying to figure out, how do I do that, Dees? What are you talking about? I have a full-time job. I'm busy. I don't have time. This is definitely the time, because we're into our 90-day challenge. And I'll tell you like this the 90-day challenge. I wish everybody would take 90 days out of the year just to commit to something that would be of an added value to their life. Just to say, whether it's going to be the summer, whether it's going to be the wintertime, doesn't matter. Just take 1 quarter out of your year and say, I'm going all in. I'm going all in on what I want. I'm going to be selfish for 90 days. People, wow, I can't even be selfish for 10 minutes, let alone 90 days. But if you truly care about personal development, if this is something that you want as part of your life, if personal development is something that is important to you, you may not see it as a must have, but you definitely want it, right? And, that line between must haves and wants varies depending on that person's perspective on what they can and cannot do. And so we just got back yesterday from vacation. We went to Negril, Jamaica, and that was my first time. That was actually all of our first time in Jamaica. And so it was yesterday. We actually, as we were getting ready to leave yesterday morning, we had the folks just give us a tour of the resort, but more so the brand new villas, the brand new parts where you can reserve at the high dollar amount and all that. And here's why you would do it, and here's who you bring and all that. And I was just going through and just really enjoying the process, just looking at the property and allowing myself to just expand my thoughts and say, okay, how do I feel about what I'm seeing? And it felt really, really good to, number one, be in that, to be in the conversation, have these people show us this beautiful villa. But it also felt good to think about how and why we're going to do it. So that's the thing. It's one thing to say, if you look at this and say, I'll never be able to do this. Right. That's one thought. I could easily just say, I'll never be able to do this. I don't make enough money to do this. I don't have the friends who would go in on me, go in with me to even do something like this. I don't, like, all these things. I don't. I could have easily gone there. First thing I did was, how am I going to do this and get a tax write-off for doing it? I was like, oh, so that changes the whole conversation. Now we're talking about this being, something that is business relative. So we're going to mix business and pleasure at the same time. We do that. Now we're heading toward tax write-off conversation versus, this is a part of my spending budget. This is now investment business activity. Changes the conversation. So how do we trigger our brains and prepare our brains, at least to get access to the information that will make you feel comfortable knowing that you can pursue things that are normally impossible, that are normally for someone else, is off of your realm of possibility, and then now make it part of that thing that you should be doing. And that was just, one of those kind of moments that I said, how often can we do these types of things? I know I have some friends who, maybe once or twice a month, they get the spouse and jump in the car and just go look at, multi-million dollar homes, meet with a realtor just to go look at it, just to go and fix their brains on, okay, is this something that I want? What ideas did I get from this? If we do this, why? Is it possible? What about something else? Like, just to not limit, like, we have to be able to start taking a look at the things that we've created as limits on our thinking on what's possible and why, and challenge them. Are these your limits, or did somebody put those guardrails on your thinking there before? Did society do it? Did your parents do it? Did your spouse do it? Like, who's putting the guardrails on your thoughts and your capacity to think past a certain space? And you have to be, you know, willing and ready to challenge those things. And when I say challenge, I mean challenge it in a way that you feel good about. For instance, I've been in situations, I remember early in my marriage, I was trying to think bigger. I was trying to access, start knocking things, old limits down. And I remember having some of those early conversations, if you will, with my wife, and was like, "Well, why we need to be able to do this and do that." And so, but I wasn't ready to defend it. All I knew was I felt like more was available. I was pointing to examples of people and opportunities that were there, but I couldn't back it up with the why. All I knew is that it was more of the want. I saw it, it's out there, but I couldn't back it up. And so it was just raw emotions. Like, there's more out there, and that's just it, right? And give me the space to do it, kind of thing. And but time and experience has, thankfully I didn't allow that kind of stuff to derail my marriage, right? But at the same time, planning, preparing, understanding what it is that you want in this life, what it is that you want to spend your time doing, that part, having examples, having healthy conversations, with people who are doing what it is that you want, really embracing who do you listen to, really associating. If this goes back to what Brandon Johnson was saying earlier, if we are just out here trying to do things on our own, yeah, I mean, you're about to run into so many unnecessary conflicts, so many unnecessary arguments, so many unnecessary, changing of jobs and all of these things, because we're out here trying to do it by ourselves. And I say, number one, I mean, a relationship with God is vital. It cannot be. It's not even up. It should not be up for discussion. And if you have a question about that because of how you were taught, faith, that's a separate conversation than a relationship with the Creator. You know where you go to church and all that. That's a separate conversation. Church is not God, and it's important for folks to understand that. It's like joining an organization. You join organizations to fellowship with, you know, like-minded people, if you will. And that's association, like the church, if you will. But understanding the relationship between God and man, and you and your creator, is vital. Because if you don't have that, and for folks who are, if it's blurry, if that line is blurry, then it's important to just at least know that part, but to not associate one with the other. Because if you do have that blurred line between, you know, your relationship with God and the church you attend, that could cloud a lot of the reasons, like that sister reached out to Brandon, was like, hey, I didn't think you were, a Christian, if you will, or I don't think you were a believer. So I want to make sure that we are the big for the purposes of personal development, the role faith plays in goal setting, the role faith plays in moving into a direction that this should be your life kind of thing, right? You have goals, and if you're trying to pursue goals by yourself and you don't have that constant communication with your creator to say, here's where I'm going, here's why I want to go there, here's what I believe I need, but I need you to do the rest. So, I need you to guide me, give me the confidence, give me help me attract the people, you know, be available when I need to cry, like all of that kind of stuff. And if you have that, then your willingness to take the next step becomes much more likely. You become much more willing to take the next step when yesterday sucked. Like when yesterday was a horrible day, it was just a painful day. Your stress levels were high, all of that stuff. You are willing to take the next step the next day because you have that relationship. If you don't have that relationship and yesterday sucked, there may not be a tomorrow. You may quit. It may be over. You may deviate completely because you don't want to face that again. You don't feel like you have the support to face it. You like, I'm done. It's a wrap. And, you know, if you have a relationship, you may at some point say you're done, but it wasn't because of fear. It was because that part of your assignment has come to an end and it's time to transition into something else. And so I think it's important to start and begin with, double down on your faith as you begin this process of goal setting and pursuing the things that you want in your life. I will say at the same time that as a quick next step, have an end in mind. What is your end point? What is your strategy? What is your objective of how you exit this? And depending on what it is that, like, what does the finished product look like? I have this conversation with, I would say more prospective clients, folks who may have reached out to me and said, "Hey, I've been running a company for the past 10 years, paying my bills. You know, I own my own job, so I'm happy to do the things I enjoy. And but I have no clue how to retire out of this thing, right? So how do I do that part? It's taking care of my lifestyle now, but I do want to retire, and I don't know how to retire from this business because I own a job." And that becomes the process of, let's now picture how you want to live your life after this. And how soon is that? Is that sooner than later? Is that, what is it? And do you want that business to keep going and you stay around? You want to pass it down to some family members? Do you want to sell it for a certain number? Like, what does that picture look like? And I think all of us, as we begin to think about the big goal, the big picture, we have to look at what does an exit look like? What does our strategy to move past this to something else look like? Is it all interconnected? Is it, so these are things we have to factor in, but a lot of times when we talk about goals, we don't talk about the end. And we want to make sure that the end is in mind as we are pulling through the strategy around goal setting. And so we're at this point in the 90-day goal setting challenge. We're at the beginning, and it could be the case because many of us have started this process early in the year, even some of us last year, about adopting a 90-day focus. And it could just be that you're just going to kick off the next 90 days, in July, if you will, uh, with the fresh objective, you know. Um, but I want to make sure that as we begin the process of highlighting the things that we want to do, making sure you have a plan to do it. Is it going to be mind, body, and soul focused? Is it going to be just I'm committing to one thing and it's on the body, or I'm committing to one thing and it's on my career, or I need to deepen my faith? Whatever that is, I want to make sure that we have a plan as to what we're doing and why we're doing it. And then two, what does the next day look like? What does day one look like in terms of what's my activity? If it's the body, do I have a food and workout regimen that I know I'm committing to? That's the big part. It's like, it's if you know you have a, a goal in mind, that what food you should eat, how much activity you need to do in terms of workout and cardio and lifting or what. And if you don't know that, that's step one. Get a plan. you know Figure out what you're trying to do. If that means you go spend a day with a trainer, or you listen to a video that highlights, hey, here's some steps to on your workout journey. I know a lot of people are doing intermittent fasting, and how's that play into your schedule? Like, just all these different steps. But talk to somebody. If you're at the beginning, who do you listen to? You listen to the people who have what you want. Listen to people who've done what it is you're getting ready to do. If you don't know anybody, go to YouTube and type it in and say, I want to lose weight. I want to start a business. I want to, get $1 million in 20 years or 10 years or whatever the case. But you want to begin that process of listen to the people who have what you want, and then factor what you've learned into your steps. And so I do want to take a second and open up the call for anybody who's taken some time to think about what their goal is for the next 90 days, what you are willing and ready to commit to. That is very important. And I want to say that the verbalization of being able to say, this is what I'm working on for the next 90 days, boom and back. I don't want you to hang up the call and say, what am I gonna that is going, if that's what happens at our next call, you may still be saying, what am I gonna focus on? Oh, I just lost 30 days. Got it. uh, I want to make sure that we do have something that we know is fresh, um, that is. And here's what I want to say this also before we open up the call. Know where you know yourself and know where you are. You know, I like, for instance, for me, over the past several, let's just say, past year, I should say, I've been prepping my activity, my physical, my body, my activities, how often I work out, how often and what I eat for to just help my brain get ready for something much for a much more difficult process. So I've been kind of going through this process of you know working out throughout the week, eating a certain type of thing, and just to get my brain ready for the next step. So when I make that next step, it won't be as painful as if I just jumped out and started doing it. I've done that before, where I just jumped out and was kind of a mind over matter kind of thing. It was like, I can do this. I'm mentally strong enough to do this, and my body will catch up. That works for a certain period of time, but what I'm more focused on now is just a lifestyle. So, which means that we turn it up a notch. We're turning up a notch because we believe that our my mind, my spirit, my body is ready to go to the next level. So I want to say, for purposes of this challenge, we can have goals where we just say, I'm just going to knock this out in 90 days. But going back to the point of the end, what's the end? When you get to that point, has it created a new lifestyle? Or, you know, was it just focused on that particular point of I need to get it down or I need to accomplish something in those 90 days and I'm done with it after that. So these are the kind of things that we want to make sure that you're thinking about, you're factoring in what's the why behind the goal as you approach this 90-day goal setting challenge. So let's take a second. Anybody willing to say this is what I'm working on for the next 90 days? This is it. And if you also say this is it, but I need help, we can do that too. And depending on what it is, and schedule a meeting. Go to the website, dreammakersnetwork.org, dreammakersnetwork.org to get this thing started. So, okay, let's take a second to open up the call now. Who's willing to share what your 90-day plan or goal is? Let's open up the call now.
And yeah, I'm so excited about what God is doing. I really need to focus. So we're looking forward to this call to focus and figure out what that 90-day challenge is going to be. Okay. That's where I'm at with it. I'm all in with like mind, body, and spirit. Like he said, I don't want to do that. I just want to have something like securely focused on tap in. But I'm definitely going to come into the network because I have a lot of questions.
Perfect.
A lot of levels I got really honed in and yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, like I said, if you don't know what it is at this moment, and I'm glad you hit that because most of you guys who've been around for the years, we used to, we've talked about the book, The Law of Success in 16 Lessons. One of the chapters on there that focuses on having a definite chief aim, a definite focus. And that's the purpose of these kind of challenges is to say, I'm going to make this my thing. I'm going to make this my thing. Yeah. If it's the business, I'm going to make setting a business plan my thing. I'm going to make attracting or getting, $1 million in capital my thing. Whatever that, just make it like, what am I going to just center in on, hone in on, and hear my steps? Boom, 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 boom. So I do know, I'm also guilty of doing multiple things. Saying, okay, I'm gonna do three things. Because there are certain things that I feel like can't. And this is a part that you have to really ask yourself. Where you are. For instance, if we say I want to focus on mind, body, and soul, that's three things. I'm gonna focus on reading more. I'm gonna focus on doing more for my business. I'm gonna focus on the next thing for my career. I want to focus on my business. I want to focus on my spirit. Like, so those are three different things. And the more I kind of talk about that, I think it is worth um, pointing the finger at something that you want to grow and build and do that. But again, we're all at different phases of our growth, our development, what our main objective is. So that's why it's important for us to kind of have these conversations let's schedule a meeting, go to the website, lock in time so we can talk it through. I really want to talk to you guys about this. This is something that, it's not only good for you in terms of strategy, but it's good for me because it gives me an opportunity to one, stay fresh on what it is that you are doing and what you're working on and what you're preparing. And two, it allows me to be kind of have also my eyes and ears open and ready to advocate and support what you're preparing and what you're working on. Um, and so that's that part for me, and for the purposes of this network, is very important. So please take a second, go to the website, dreammakersnetwork.org, click schedule a meeting, lock in time so we can just at least talk it through and plug me in right into what you're working on so we can get everybody else aligned on this as well. So boom, let's go. Anybody else willing to talk about what your goal is for the next 90 days? We'll open up the call now.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
The past 3 challenges has been dealing with the health.
Okay.
And like you said, you've been doing the steps here and there to try to prepare you to be able to do it again and take the steps to take it, a step further, farther this time. And so that's where I was because I had being a woman of a certain age, you didn't realize some of the challenges that kept you from being completely successful in the past was because you're changing.
Yeah.
And so because I had all these changes going on and hadn't gotten a grip on it, I realized I spent the past year trying to get a handle on what that was and how to overcome it, or at least find ways to address it.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been able to address those things and found a level of clarity, which is a beautiful thing. And with the help of medication as well as just kind of releasing a whole lot of stuff. I was listening to Tarsana earlier talking about saying no and being in a position to be and happy to say no. It's something that kind of been a foreign concept to me, but I'm happy to say no and push back and eliminate things and people and from your space so you can kind of really focus on you. Found that it's been really helpful. So as you and I were talking a few weeks ago, I was telling you I'm looking over who's trying to job, and you were like, yeah, don't focus on what you know how to do. And so it hit me, in addition to focusing on myself, to continue with getting the health together and dropping some pounds this over the 90-day period. The goal is to try to get down 20 pounds over the 90-day period, but not just get down 20 pounds. I want to lose. I want to build muscle. I want to strengthen myself. Build the muscle, legs, arms, midsection. Get strong during that period. So the goal is to lose the weight, but the main goal, the overarching goal, is to become physically stronger. Because you let yourself go over the years, and you're not doing haven't done what I needed to do to keep my strength. So that's one goal. But the other goal is to develop my consulting services. And once you and I put it out, once you mentioned that, sat back with it for a second or two, and all of a sudden a phone call came. So when you're aligned, when your energy is aligned with it, it comes. And a phone call out of nowhere came that I wasn't even thinking about. And an opportunity presented itself. And then in the process of talking to you, another opportunity popped up to, start applying for consulting opportunities with other jurisdictions. I work for county government here, but it doesn't mean I can't contract my services for other jurisdictions outside of the area. It's not a conflict. Especially if what I'm doing has nothing to do with what I currently do on my job. And so I said, well, now it's time to get to work on building my presence and, let that become the main thing as I transition from a 9 to 5 or whatever we do, that 9 to 5 job. That might be the thing for us right now, but what we're doing is building those consulting services that over the next 5 to 10 years we can do more consulting services and transition out of the 9 to 5 altogether. So the focus is to build the consulting activity also, at least get my collateral together, get the web page together, all of that kind of stuff. So I'll be putting some time in on your go to the website and schedule some time so we can kind of think this through and flesh this out.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, I even with that, it's important for at least the folks on the call or folks who are listening later to know what type of service of consulting do you focus on. You ain't got to give a whole breakdown, but just a high level, just so folks know, oh, I didn't know Bonnie was doing that. So give that quick 20-second elevator speech just so everybody has it in front of their mind.
Well, for grant preparation, so grant proposal preparation. But in the process of doing that, because you get a lot of phone calls from people saying, "Hey, I need you to write me a grant." I don't write grants; I prepare proposals. But the key to it is that doing an assessment of the organization, determining whether or not the organization is in a position to start applying for grant funding. As they started documenting what they've done over the years. Who are your key players on your team? You really doing an assessment of, are you really prepared to apply for this funding? Because if you get funded, we want you to be successful. And then who do you have on your team, or who will be a part of your team that will document, how you spend the money? Somebody got to keep track of it. Because you don't want what you thought was a blessing to become a burden when they haul you off from jail, but for not spending the government money right.
That's right.
So the goal for me when I help people position themselves to apply for grant funds, we do a complete assessment of their organization. We help them set up forms, create forms, document, create an infrastructure so once they do the work, they can now document what they've been doing, and then we help them put together language, word things in a way so it would be easy for people to understand what they do and help them to put what they do out there and get somebody to invest in what they do. So that's part of it. Another part of it, and it's not just I'm in community development and affordable housing development, but I also help people in the education sphere. I've done proposals for schools and school districts, charter schools, and as well as we did some on the health and human services side, so people who are trying to do homeless, to provide services to the homeless. So it just depends on what you want to do, and I help you think through the process. We document how you do it. What we tell your story, help you tell your story. And once we help you tell your story, then we put it together in a way that will make it easy for you to compare grant applications moving forward.
There we go.
That's a little longer than an elevator speech.
I found a couple of jobs for you just in that, just in that little quick spiel. On the top of my brain. I mean, especially for those of us who are who serve on boards, like nonprofit boards, and you're going through strategic planning and trying to find new grant funding for your organization, and you may not have in-house folks who can prepare proposals, you know, now you have a resource within the network. We got a couple of organizations. I actually, and on the other side, and this is me on a more personal level, personal from a business perspective. A host of my clients are government contractors and trying to, figure out how to scale their businesses and access other municipalities for contracts. But they may not have an appropriate. So some of those processes, I think is are RFP processes. But at the same time, the other part is having a proper business plan as to what they do, how they do it, and how they're growing it. And I don't know if that kind of structure is built into the proposal process, but that kind of stuff is golden. And for current business owners who are trying to scale, they pay a good number. They will pay a happy price for that kind of structure because it's that line between, running a cash business based on the revenues to attracting money to scale. And folks who know that they're just getting by with the cash business and they don't have enough capital to scale, as long as you can show what you've done, what you're doing, and where you're going, but you need to do it in a way that's attractive to an investor, whether that investor is a business owner or an investor or a bank or a municipality or a grant nonprofit foundation, whatever the case, you know, that kind of organization is needed, and folks will pay nice dollars for that. So that's worth us talking through to see if that fits into your skill set as well.
Division. We put funding for not just non, we put funding for who in the construction space or affordable housing development space, so they see themselves as developers. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, you want to apply for the funding, but you can't show that you have audited financials, or at least you have a solid financial history. So you're having you're doing your tax returns as a business. So you can have business tax returns. You need the law statement. Mm-hmm. You need to be able to have a one page that talks about who you are and what you do and how long you've been doing it. Yep. And who are some of the people you serve? Who's on your team? Who manages your books? Are you the bookkeeper and the house builder and the project manager? Can you do that if you're applying for $1 million from us? Who's on your team? Because you can't just do it. It can't be a one-man show. You're not going to score well. So I can help you structure when you present it, because you do have a team, you just don't know you have a team. Mm-hmm. And so we can help put together your strategy. So when you're looked at, people see you as a whole, not just, you see your company as a whole, not just you as the person with that swings the hammer. So we can help you do that. I'm helping a few people do that now.
Mm. There we go. No need to look for a part-time job. I can tell you right now. Who said that? Oh, Brandon. Okay, Todd. Okay. Let's go. Let's go. We'll get that organized. I will. See, like I just told you, there was no need to get a part-time job because the market needs, and that's the big point to all of us. And I'll tell you, here's one extra thing I really want the, the Dreammakers Network to be able to do is, one, to have these kind of conversations. Two, a big mission for me, and I probably got a few of them, but here's one that's very important, particularly for folks who are in the 9 to 5 W-2 space. If you're a 9 to 5 W-2, even if it doesn't matter how much money you make, the objective, here's what I run into with my 9 to 5 W-2 clients, is they have big financial goals, but the tax man does not like W-2 wage earners. So the more money you make, if you're a high net worth W-2 person, if unless you're maxing out your 401k and have your favorite charities that you're giving away money to and all that, that's all you got, in terms of reducing your taxable income. If you maybe put some money in 529s and things like that, but there's a limit as to how many things you can do that will reduce your taxes, unless you create a separate entity and begin to develop business related expenses that you're killing two birds with one stone. You're building something and you're creating deductible expenses. My big goal is to make sure that everybody starts a business that is relative to the things that they already know and understand, but do something with it. So if you just have a LLC, that's not going to help much. You have to create an LLC and then get started in, quote unquote, your 5 to 9. So you have a 9 to 5, but then you got a 5 to 9 where you are actually preparing yourself to make some money. And if you spent money to make money, that's a deductible expense. So if you created a website, if you took somebody out to dinner to sell your business, if you attended a conference, if you, whatever the case may be, if you spend money to make money, that's a deductible expense. And so now we have this W-2 person who's using a portion of their W-2 money to fund and capitalize the 9 to 5. And you have a business objective for that 5 to 9. And you now have expenses. You're now meeting with clients. You're the whole 9. And there's activity to document, record keep, and deduct. So we want to make sure that people are in a position to take what they know and understand, incorporate it, make sure it doesn't conflict with your 9 to 5, and begin the process of doing something that you already have energy for. It doesn't seem like a chore, and it can be that piece of your total financial portfolio that is growing faster than other aspects that you have, right? So you have your 401k, you have your savings, may have some stocks and bonds, you may have some annuities, some fixed accounts. All these things are part of your portfolio, but this business is beginning to grow at a higher clip because, again, you have energy for it, you're excited, you're partnering with other folks within the network, and now you find yourself, one, bringing on clients that are really profitable. Because I'll tell you right now, if you work with us, I'm not going to get you involved in something that doesn't create margin. If it's not profitable, then maybe it should lean in another bucket. Maybe it should be a part of the nonprofit space where you can at least get some deductions and creating something that feels great, you love it, but it's not a marginable business. It's more of a give back type deal. But for us to be able to know that, we have to talk it through. And there are a lot of people who start nonprofit organizations that should be for profit. And there are a lot of people who start for-profit organizations that should be nonprofit. And we just want to make sure that it's the right entity structure for what it is that you're actually trying to accomplish. Because at the end of the day, we want this to be profitable, and you want to make sure that the impact is there. So there's a reason why you're going after it. Let's make sure that it's actually in the right entity structure to before you get started. So, but again, that happens with scheduling time. Go to the website, dreammakersnetwork.org, schedule a meeting. Let's talk it through. And at this point in my career, if I don't have that information, I know somebody who has it, and I can confidently say that. It's either I know it or somebody else I know knows it, and I can schedule time for you to meet with them. That's the blessing. I've been in this business for over 20 years, and that's just what it is. And hoping you guys can say in your field, you know the things that you know, and you know the people who have the information. And so that's why it's important for us to know what you're doing, because if you have information that you're just kind of nuzzling it up to yourself and keeping it within your own little tight group of network, and we don't have a clue what it is, then now, I want to be able to pride myself to say, and I have a conversation with folks that I know someone who can do that. I know someone who's doing it now. You should talk to them, because again, not only does it potentially create new business opportunities for you, but it helps me in my practice to be able to serve as a professional advisor on multiple conversations and multiple facets. And so, these meetings are important on two ends. But again, especially when we're talking about business and finance, I want to make sure that you've at least had a chance to talk it through with a professional who can help provide some guidance, and some suggestions, if you will, as to what it is you're doing. And there may be a simpler way to do something that you're ready to dive hard into, and and go against the grain, if you will. So there's no need to do that and spend a lot of unnecessary money. There may be a couple connections that we can make right now and address something. So there go again. Go to the website, dreammakersnetwork.org, schedule a meeting, and let's dive into it. So we're definitely going to make those connections, and set it up for both of you guys. But I want to make sure that we have our one-on-ones, and then we can start connecting the dots. Anybody else? Let's go. Who else is willing to share their goal for the next 90 days? We'll open up the call now. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How you feeling, brother?
Yeah, but great day. Thank everybody for early. That's all you need.
We got you. Hands on your knees. Okay, get it all in there. You're gonna close us out. I was like, get it all in there. You're gonna close us out. Mm-hmm.
thing. Tell me what you're proud of in the last month. There you go. Really good things that can happen. But it's like trying to pick out the thing that was like, wow, what are you proud of? Like, what do you? When I think of pride, good pride, not the pride that comes for the fall pride, but the good pride. Like, hey, what are you stressed out about? What do you want to like my partner? Saying, what am I going to put on a T-shirt? Like, hey, I'm proud of this, man. Put my face on a T-shirt. This is me. I'm gonna put my logo up there. I'm proud of this. And something different. At first I was like, well, I'm proud that, my children are doing well. You know what I'm saying? My youngest one's about to get a fifth grade, her little her kindergarten, moving into the first grade graduation and all that. Proud dad. Those are good things. Like, I'm definitely proud of that. Like, but for the purposes of like personal development and Dream Makers Network and and all, like, all right, here we go. What are you proud of, sir, in the past 6 months based on your purpose in your life and your goal and the things that you want to do? Talk to me about what you're proud of. Go. Dang. What the hell? I was in there just on my morning, listening, sitting down on my Dream Makers early morning toilet. Like, all right, wait, let's get it in. And I was just at a loss, man, and I was surprised at myself for that. But and throughout the call, I just didn't have something. So I've been living the past 5 months over the thing. And I was like, I think that the pride piece, and you said it at the back end of it. You was like, you got things that are happening, but this is your opportunity to say it. And people don't often just embrace how well they're doing or good things that they've been doing, and this is the space to do it. And I was like, am I living in a space that's like overly humble, where I just don't even admit that anything, deeply that I'm proud of? Surface-wise stuff, I've mastered the surface-wise. I'm doing my thing. Check me out, son. But
check me out.
You know what I'm saying? Like that, the deep, like real. What do you really feel proud of? And I was thinking about pride, and I was like, you should be able to pull energy from something that you're proud of, and then roll that into the next thing. I did a good job of that. So I completed this project. I feel real good about. As simple as like, I feel real good at building this shelf. I'm very proud of it. I set this, you're standing there looking at it, and you got your books on it or whatever, and then you say, man, all right, now you turn your back and you say, all right, now I'm going to fix that chair. On the strength that you were proud of what you built here. So I was like, man, I gotta work on this block, because there's a block in there that's stopping me from really. And it goes into all of the stuff. I was epiphany on pride, right? It goes into all of the stuff like, well, why don't you really want to, why don't you like celebrating your birthday? Why don't you celebrate as much as you should?
Good point.
You're a hard worker. You're hard working. You're the hardest working person that you know. You know what I'm saying? I'm top 3. Like I say, I can master the surface talking trash. Like, I'm top 3. Any of y'all know as far as work ethic, right? But you hear what I'm saying? Like, the pride, the real pride, and the real celebration, all those kind of things. There's a block there. And I'm not sure why. So I'm gonna get into that. That's my pride thing. So I'm happy about some things that have happened over the past whatever. But I don't have the proud thing other than my children.
Let me jump in on that real quick before you dive in on the next one. Let me jump on this one real quick. One thing and the real question is, what are we proud of relative to what we've been doing, over the past 5 months. So it's not about I'm proud, oh, I'm searching for something I'm proud of because you're thinking about something that you haven't been doing. If you've been so think about what we've been doing, how you spent your time. So if the first thing you hit was your kids, which means you've been putting in time. You've been putting in time on their progress, you know, and hey, brother, that is it. That is real deal Holyfield, right? Yeah. So okay. You know, I like it. I like where you're going with this, though. I do like it because what we're talking about is, am I proud of my success? Because you can point to things that you've been producing. This is a very important conversation because there are people who have us maybe that goal in mind is something so far away in reach that that success will happen, but you're never proud of it. And so you always feel like it's a never ending chase. And at what point do you celebrate? I just had this conversation with my other guy, my man Brandon, Riddick Seals. I was like, hey man, it's a lot of cool stuff been going on here recently. When are you gonna celebrate? He said, no rest for the weary, man. This, that, and the other. I'm like, listen, man, we're not 25. Like, we are not 25 years old. And I had a chance to vacation with this dude last summer. And he didn't vacation. He didn't vacate. He was just present with us and was still working. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. So this is an important conversation because we got this one life. So I just want to highlight that. We got this one life, right? One life. So, and I think we have to. While I was that, I don't know. I text you. When was that? I don't know if it was while I was on vacation or right before I left. Like, hey man, y'all just come on down here and hang. I mean, we have to celebrate. Celebrate something. Birthday. Every 90 days. Like the one thing I like about the 12-week yearbook is part of that process is you take your 90 days, you work hard, you push that 90 days, and then you celebrate. It highlights basically a week per quarter where you're celebrating. You're celebrating whatever you accomplished, you know, and celebration has to become part of your lifestyle. And however you celebrate. you know, you know. And I'm laughing because I'm like, however you celebrate. Like some people celebrate, in other ways, but we just want to make sure that you take that time to invest. So, all right, I'm off that soapbox, but I wanted to highlight that and pinpoint that because that is a thing that ambitious personal development focused people find themselves into that where they just cannot find time to stop. And last thing you want is for your health to stop you, and then you're like, "Oh man, I never did celebrate." So all right, I'm off. Yeah, that's true. Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay.
In connection. You know, this is what I'm gonna do. Get myself lined up, and I'm gonna manifest this number
Okay.
in a not street, but you know, like in a figuring out how to do that thing. That's so easy. That's definitely on the list. That you know, we can stamp that and turn into a Christmas ready to be tasted. Give a turkey and need to drop some of these wins. Absolutely not. And
Ah. Okay. Mm. Okay. Mm-hmm.
being that late in the evening, 12, 1 o'clock, you know, consistently 3 to 4 nights a week. It's just, you know, it's just 12 o'clock, wind down by 2. It's just a different lifestyle. And then you
Yeah.
get back to work.
It is. It is. That's a good point.
Peace. You'll see my name.
Okay.
You see what's got on board. It's doing what you're supposed to do. It's easy because at least you know to do it. You know, it's just a matter of putting that. Things still trying to work out. Lines in the water.
Got it. I love it. Oh, I love it. I love it. This is good, man. You brought us right to 9 o'clock. I knew you was gonna close it out for us, man. I love this. This is so perfect. So I want to. Okay. I'm like, wait a second. He ready? I'm like, wait a second. Oh, come on, man. Oh, you might extend this thing. I'm like, I'm like, no, that's a schedule a meeting question. Schedule a meeting. Go to dreammakersnetwork.org. Schedule a meeting, and we would talk about your 401k. Oh man, I love this. I love this. Now, I do want to say this. Here's something, and I'm going to share this guys with you. Share this with you guys. So I sent when I sent out the message to you guys, I highlighted one of my favorite Jim Rohn quotes, which is service to many leads to greatness. Service to many leads to greatness. And I did that for a reason. And I probably should have mentioned this earlier in the call, but I think that everything happens for a reason. I really would love, well, before I even go into that, the one thing I know for a fact, and for everybody who's on the call, and even for the folks who are on for the first time, the one thing I know about the folks who are on this call right now is that everybody on this call is a leader and has information and experience and has something that other people need. And a lot of times when we come on the calls, and especially when we focus on 90-day challenges, we go inward, if you will, in terms of how to take what we're doing now to the next level and grow it and go from that respect. One thing I've realized over the past, I've been observing, let me say, I've been purposely observing, let's say within the past, year, 6 months to a year, is the relationship in the classes, and primarily within Black people. The relationship that the middle, upper middle, business class Black folks have with the working class and poverty-stricken Black folks. So I'm just looking at it from that respect, and that's kind of my thought process from a holistic perspective. And even and one of the things that's really been, and I've had some random conversations. I shouldn't say random. I've had them on purpose. Interjected the conversation around the relationship between the classes, and I will walk away saying that I'm very concerned. When we look at just kind of the state and the plight of Black people alone, but not just Black folks, but I mean, especially Americans. Let's just look at it from that respect. That we talk a lot about race in this country, but the real challenge in this country, from my perspective, is class. That there's there's a lot of disdain that one has over the other, and there's a lot of issues relative to not having, especially for folks who didn't always grow up in a certain, who wasn't born with a silver spoon in their mouth, but they kind of pulled themselves up and reached a certain economic class, if you will, and never took the time to look back and say, how do we expand the base? And so that's something, and I've had these conversations with folks, especially within the Black community. And I'll tell you, man, it's so interesting that, especially for Black folks, where we're all so, in so many ways, still feel like we're on the climb. We're trying to grow. We're trying to address this issue and that issue. And if you're steady climbing, you're not looking back. You're not, even though we may think we're looking back or doing something to pull the next one up, there's more energy going on trying to climb than pulling back. And so that became something that's really been on my spirit. And I've been actually praying about, to find ways, and I always look for those ways where you can kill two birds with one stone. You can also continue to build and climb and do things you're doing, but a part of that is reinvestment, if you will. And I want us to just add this to our 90-day challenge is to find a way to serve the many, and figure that. And a lot of times when we think about that, we think about it and we say, oh, here we go. I got to stop doing this to do that, you know. And when you make it, when I make a big statement like find a way to serve the many, the question becomes, well, what is it that you, in terms of service, like what is it that you truly either love or hate? You love to do a certain things, or you hate that certain thing is going on and you want to stop it. Either of the two is good enough. Because if you love something, you have the energy all ready to go to dive into it and give what you have. If you hate something, you have the energy ready to go to put an end to it, to fight against it, to already jump in. I want you to think about that. What is that thing? What is that thing that you love and that you're willing to, you may already have started doing it in a certain capacity, but you haven't lent yourself to lead and really take on a cause, if you will. You may have given to it. You may have served, and volunteered and did things like that, but you haven't dove into it. Or vice versa, that there's just something you cannot stand and it has to end in your lifetime, if you will. You make that type of commitment. I want us to at least begin the thought. And maybe on the next call, we move that thought into some level of action. So what is that thing that truly matters to you that you can lend your time and expertise to? Or you can find a way to infuse and incorporate. And this is the better fix, I believe, to infuse and incorporate what you're currently working on that still would also benefit that cause, that organization, that issue that's a community-based or societal-based factor. I just want you to think about that. And the reason why I want to do that is because I know what I do know for that is fact, that there are a lot of causes, organizations, and things that are going on that are already organized and out there that have people with big hearts that are involved, but in many ways they lack leaders. They lack people with real leadership experience, with real strategic mindsets, with experience that they could easily lend to something. So you have a lot of people with big hearts, and some of them have time. They have big hearts, they have time, but they don't have the skill set, the leadership skill set to help take something to the next level. And I want to just put that in your thoughts, in your spirit, to think about what would you lend yourself to? Something that you already, and you made it. Here's the good part. I shouldn't say the good part, but you already know what gets you going. What you may not know is there an organization that's already doing that needs you, that needs your involvement? That's the part that you probably don't know. And again, as we talk and you guys schedule time and we begin to, I want to hang up from this today and look at my calendar and say, oh, look, I got this one on the call. I got this one signed up. I want to be able to have these conversations, and I'm going to pepper in that question. I'm thankful that I spent just about a decade working specifically with nonprofit organizations. And it exposed me to just the world of nonprofit organizations that are out there, the various sectors and trade related, cause related, so just about anything that you have a passion for, whether you love it or you hate it, there's already an association dedicated to that work. And I want to make sure that you guys are part of that. And I think it's not only good for you, because you know me, if we're going to factor this in, we're going to factor in your involvement to kill a couple birds with one stone, how it plays into your financial portfolio as a tax strategy, how it plays into your organizational objectives, and what role that staffing can play in things that you're working on. But more importantly, how it plays into lending skilled, competent, experienced professionals to organizations that need them. Because what I've seen over the past decade or so is that there are a lot of great organized organizations that lack people like the folks I'm talking to right now. They just don't have access to you, and they need you. And the truth is, you need them because they've already they stop you from starting a nonprofit organization. Because everybody I talk to is passionate about something. Saying, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna start this organization. Like, oh, here we go. We got another, another big-hearted person who should be starting a business and they're starting a nonprofit. And I'm trying to interrupt that. I was like, there are some great, already structured organizations that need your strategy, your skill set, your expertise, and they need your money. They need your network. But we want to keep you focused on creating wealth, right? We want to keep you focused on the for-profit side. And now you've partnered with your favorite nonprofit. I always ask folks, who is your favorite nonprofit? They were like, well, my church. I was like, okay, great. What are you doing with the church? Well, I go, I like, what ministries have y'all started? Like, let's do, what's the impact of your favorite nonprofit? What work is it doing? And if you can't fully answer those questions, that's the beginning, right? So that's all I got. I just really want to, I wanted to leave with that as we infuse service to many and how to incorporate service into what you're already doing. I don't want it to be an and or, but this is all infused into your strategic planning. And that's the purpose of the conversation. So go to dreammakersnetwork.org, schedule time, check out, look for your face, see if you're in there. And if you're not in there, say, D, I went through this whole website. I ain't seen my face not once. Boom, that's something else that I need to do to make sure that the website reflects the people. And that is very important. So please take a look. Go if you don't see your picture, then go to a video. Go to the videos and look and see if you saw something there. But we want. Yep. So, what'd you say? Oh, I don't. You probably didn't mean to say that. So go to the website dreammakersnetwork.org, dreammakersnetwork.org. And that's all I got. I will say that I've been reading this great book. Oh my God. And I just stumbled across it. There's a book that's I don't know when it came up, but I would assume recently. It's called The Unfinished Story by Doris Kearns Goodwin. And if you don't know who Doris Kearns Goodwin is, she's really a political historian. That's exactly what she is. She's a political historian. Some of her books are, I've probably at this point read maybe 6 of her books. She did the story on Lincoln. She did the story on LBJ. So she's put together some great pieces. She actually did I'm pretty sure she did the Bully Pulpit, which was the story on President Taft and President Teddy Roosevelt, and which is a great read already. Also, she did the what was the one with Lincoln? Team of Rivals, which was another great book. But this one, An Unfinished Story. I think it's an unfinished love story. No, unfinished story. And it's really about her husband, which is Richard Goodwin. And long story short, he really holds a very unique space and some of the and he served in both the Kennedy and Johnson administrations as his chief speech writer. And he was a young guy at the time in his late 20s, early 30s, during both administrations. They're doing the assassination of Kennedy throughout the Johnson administration. He ended up being, I'm at the point of the book now where he was leaving the Johnson administration and going to work for Bobby Kennedy, and so much history, so much drama written from the perspective of his life and from his memoir and his wife's um, excellent historical context. It's just it's so good. So Unfinished Story by Doris Kearns Goodwin. Story on her husband, Richard Goodwin. All right, that is all I got. Anybody else have any questions, comments, want to share before we finish up for the day?
And I said, there's if it has to come to your city, look for it. It is a mental health symposium for Black men, specifically for Black men. I'll put it in the group. It's honestly to Pittsburgh. It's been in the Bahamas. I just know it's going to be in, I think, D.C. But there's a whole lot of stuff. My cousin, he's the head facilitator, Lamar Rucker. So he's been promoting it, and they're looking for Black therapists. If they come to your city, they're looking for Black men therapists to be there too. It is an all-male space. And from what I've heard, the ones that have happened, the one in Bahamas I heard was off the chain. But I know they're coming, so they're really, promoting it, whatever. But when I heard that it was going to be in 30 cities, look for it. And like I said, I'll put it in the chat thread, so you can look for the information if it's going to be in your city.
Wow. So they had one in Bahamas, and they're doing what in 30 cities? I mean,
yeah, 30 cities. Yep, we're going to 30 cities.
Wow.
And it's Vermont, and it's like I think it's like four mental health professionals, but really providing space for Black men to talk about their stuff. We're talking about their stuff, and then from that, it allows some of the conversations to, say this is really that, we're all dealing with it. And the importance of Black men being able to hold Black men accountable and change the conversation for their mental and their physical health, but really providing that and also being able to connect them with local and national resources related to Black male mental health.
Wow. That's a good look. I like that. I mean, that's a great way to operationalize something. I mean, that kind of goes back to what we were just talking about earlier. Go to the favorite cities, locations that you love, host something, write it off, and keep doing it, and make that your business model. Go to all your favorite 30 cities, host something, put a subscription fee out there. I mean, and write it off, right? Like, sounds like a great business model to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bring the things that he cares about to the space. I just finished watching the Black Hamptons, and one of his first movies was about, and when he talks about sex, again, your physical, your mental. And so, like, in one of the scenes, I noticed specifically it was a sex scene. I love saying sex scene, whatever. It was a sex scene. But there was all these open magnums on the table. And I was like, yes, we see love scenes and sex scenes all the time. But do we see people being safe in these trips? Because they're like with random people. So let's go ahead and show the magnum as we're showing the situation go down. You know what I mean? And he's very intentional about that as a director and as an actor, to put the things that he cares about into the work that people really know him for, which is the acting part of it.
So you know what? I thought you said Lamar Rucker, like the dude who was Jill Scott's husband on.
Yeah.
Why did I get married? That brother. Okay, yeah. See,
So
wait.
he's a community.
What?
We're just for the him than my blood cousin.
Wow.
We've been, we support each other literally our whole life because we've been together our whole life.
All right.
But this is what I've noticed is I'm working on marketing because I can always get pulled in the crap, but it's all being used for things. Thank God. It's like he uses what he cares about is the things that people excited for him to be in. Like I said, the safe sex piece, the mental health, all these elements are going to be in almost any of the projects that he is producing. And if he has creative reign in acting things, he tries to pull those things into. So the mental health is big in any work that he is going to direct or produce.
This is a classic example of how, and I'm glad you gave a practical example of how to infuse your passions, cause related to your for-profit efforts and ventures. This is a practical example of that. And I think it's important for us to try to think as creatively as possible but that's an example of how you do it. And one, I think this is a good look. So I'm going to check out when he's going to be either in Florida or in the DC, Baltimore areas, just to kind of put that on the calendar. Because I definitely want to check this brother out. But on top of that, thank you for sharing that example, because sometimes it's examples that make more sense than just ideas, if you will, but to be able to make it much more practical. And on top of that, I wonder where I should look and see where in Bahamas is he going. Because so here's one more thing, and I promise I'm done with this, right? And speaking of that, so we've been, going back to celebrating. Like me and Rhea were just sitting there just planning out. All right, so what's next year looking like? What's our travel plans for next year, and why are we doing it? So more recently, over the past, since the pandemic, we've been trying to incorporate celebrating. And so for instance, this trip that we just got back from the grill was celebrating 14 years, and then Maddie turning 13. So we called it the 14-13 celebration. Next year we're celebrating 15 or 50. So 15 years marriage and her 50th birthday. So we're just doing, find a reason to celebrate. And so that's step one. Then you say, okay, well, how do I do this? We've been doing the sandals properties. So sandals for couples, and they got the beaches for the families, so you just choose one of the resorts depending on what you're celebrating. They have others out there, where these are like all-inclusive places. So you pay for it and you don't spend no more money once you're there, right? Everything is there, your food, your drinks, all of that. So unless you want to do some extra stuff, pick the location you want to go to. Now, my next thought, again, as we were talking about, is doing more situations where you add in a trip that is something that you can write off, that is more leadership organization focused, or something that has maybe something nonprofit, something that's a celebration for the business, or whatever the case may be. You schedule in a meeting a day, record keep that, and submit it, give it to your tax man, let them take care of the rest, right? So we just want to be in a position where we are celebrating. I don't want to be one of them dudes that say, oh man, Dee's passed away. He didn't really live a good life though. You know what I'm saying? I want to say, well, that dude lived. Like, he was out there trying to live it. And whether it's an old man or a young man, to do it now. Like, whatever it is you're trying to do, just do it. And there's no other way to explain that. Like, whatever you're trying to do and why you're trying to do it, then do it now. Like, because the waiting stuff is like, that's where the risk comes in. Like, I'm waiting to pull it together. Like, I'm waiting to start this business. I'm waiting to do it. Okay. Keep that up, right? So let's just figure out ways to incorporate what we're trying to do, what the bigger goal is, and let's just start peppering that stuff. It don't have to be the whole kitchen caboodle, but you can begin to pepper in what you want into what you're doing. So, and I'm gonna leave on that because this is now about 9:30. So there we go. So thank you guys so much. I'm fired up, excited about this 90-day goal setting challenge. Let's really take it seriously. Let's really be intentional about identifying what we want to focus on. Let's truly be confident and proud of what you've created so far, and to know that you have something to lend to someone else. You have something to lend to the marketplace. You have something to lend to these organizations. You have something to lend to your families, to your network. Let's fully utilize what we've built over the past 12 years in the StreamX network and really make an impact. Make an impact in your financial life, make an impact in your community. Take what you're doing to the next level, and then let's celebrate it all at the same time. So with that, I'm done. That's all I got. Have a great summer. Have a great June. Let's start getting into your activity, measure what you're doing, be prepared to talk about what you're doing on our next call. And go to dreammakersnetwork.org, schedule a meeting, share that website on all of your social media pages. Say schedule a meeting, check us out, look at my face, look at my page, look at this video. Like, it's all in there. So go do it. And I look forward to talking to you soon.